Hey everybody, sorry for the late upload, but this one was getting spayed. Okay, before we get into today's video topic, we're going to go over some of the announcements that we have for the upcoming months, I guess. Starting with the meetup in June. We have dates set up and everything. The link will be down in the description, so you can get in with that and say you're interested, not going, or going. We do need a head count because we are planning on getting a venue for the second day, which will be covering possibly Aetherian classes, Q&A, and then we'll let you guys decide what topics you would like us to go over. So yeah, and then there's laser tag.
Laser tag. There's a nearby place in a mall close to us, and it's quite accessible, so I think that would be a very great team activity.
For sure. So that is our first announcement. Our second announcement is in May we are getting our Redbubble up and running. If you guys want to donate some of your drawings to hashtag GobSquad, feel free to do so. We'll put it on some merch, and that all the funds are going back into the channel. None of this is going personally to us, it's going back to you in a sense. So that is our upcoming announcements.
And also,
we got our diagnosis! Yay!
Finally!
We have been trying to get on disability for a little while now, and our therapist finally gave us our diagnosis of d.i.d, PTSD, chronic depression, anxiety, and a couple of other things. But all of us are pretty relieved. Some alters are questioning it. They're thinking like, what if we tricked the therapist into thinking we have d.i.d? Like, we tricked our therapist.
Then it's just like, you are an alter.
So yeah, so we're all pretty excited about it, but then there's some skeptics that are like, we made somebody think something that's not real. But obviously it is. Also, I think we should state our names. This is Cash. I am a newer fronting alter.
Oh, I already put it in the subtitles. This is Blaze.
Oops.
It's Gucci. I always do that at the beginning of videos. It's a habit at this point.
Okay, and then on to our topic for today. You guys have been asking about what ESA'S are and how our cats help us. So we're going to dive right into that.
This is something that we plan to do for a hot second, and I asked some people on Instagram to do one of those question stickers because we just really love doing those. So we're going to incorporate some of those into our explanation about ESA'S and stuff, and then we'll have a Q&A little bit after our like general explanation.
Mm-hmm.
So emotional support animals, they are not service animals. They are here for emotional support, and it's more like things that animals aren't typically trained to do. Like, you can't really train an animal to be super in tune with your individual emotions. It's kind of a unique case for each.
Mm-hmm.
Any animals can really be an ESA if they have the disposition for it. You can even see, like, service horses. Like, that's a legitimate thing. Horses can be ESAs.
Emotional support animals, we want to reiterate this, are not service animals. Service animals are dogs only. That's the only thing, at least in the United States, that is recognized as a service animal.
They are pigs.
No, not recognized. They can be service animals, but they're the only animals that can be service animals are dogs, and they make exceptions for ponies. So it depends on your animal, but service animals are trained specifically to individual needs, whereas emotional support animals are there for your emotional well-being, and they aren't trained really in any way. So Willow, our round baby. So Willow is the prime example of what an emotional support animal is not.
Exhibit A.
She was meant to be our as emotional support animal, but she does not have the disposition for it. As you can see, she's trying to escape our grasp. Emotional support animals don't usually do this, and when they do, they've had enough of supporting you, whereas she just doesn't generally want to be held.
Ever.
So she doesn't have the disposition for being an ESA. She actually runs from emotion.
Literally. Like, she's only been, like, emotionally supportive a couple of times when we were having some serious panic attacks, and we think that was only because she was hungry.
Yeah, she only gets cuddly when she wants food. So on to our next thing is registries are a scam. They are there to take your money, and they are not legitimate at all. There is no registry for service animals, emotional support animals, therapy animals. There's just no actual registry. So, in order to get an ESA, you need a letter from a therapist, and that is the only way, really, to have a legitimate emotional support animal. So, don't give your money away to those registration sites because they are literally a scam.
And animals can detect switches when it comes to d.i.d, and they can also detect dissociation. Yeah. And they can tell the differences between different alters. Like, of course, there's going to be different mannerisms and different voices sometimes, and of course, animals can detect that just as people can.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they really notice that.
Yeah, and they can definitely detect switches. Sometimes the cats will climb on our lap when we're switching or dissociating, so it's definitely something that cats are in tune with. Most animals are, actually.
Yeah, even horses.
But yeah, even horses can tell the differences between alters. We had a horse for a while. Her name was Silly, short for Silhouette, and she had her favorite alters, Kyler and Mickey. Those were her two favorite, and Ashley was deathly afraid of her because every time Ashley went near her, she tried to kick her. So, so animals definitely can tell the differences between alters, and they do have favorites. They pick favorites.
They definitely have favorites, and they definitely have non-favorites.
And Thick Boy and Mage are prime examples of ESAs.
Now, these two are good examples of ESAs. Although we just disrupted them from their napping, so they're like, "Why are you holding us?" Such a good boy.
Mage is showing good examples, and Thick Boy is showing bad examples.
He just really likes to be in front of the camera. But I think we'll just let him, because this is a video about ESAs.
Go Mage.
But yeah, Thick Boy, some of his behaviors and helpings with our d.i.d stuff. Okay. Creatures. My son. We just rearranged the room. I gotta check the desks out. So, as you can tell, Thick Boy is very disruptive. He does that a lot when there's, like, acute emotional distress, like, when we're having some panic attacks or anxiety. Usually when we, like, come home from things, like class or work or whatever. And he... I'm not gonna let you moon the camera. I'm not gonna let your butt be on camera. I know this channel isn't intended for children, but I mean really. So some of the things that he does is sit on our lap in a very like specific way with his paws on our arm, and he kind of just leans into us, and he like kneads and purrs really loudly and meows a lot. He's a very talkative cat, which is one of the most grounding things ever, and it really helps that he's like super needy and everything. He can also sense intentions to self-harm relapse, and he gets extra disruptive. He sticks to us like glue when we're getting into one of those mindsets, and he just tries his best to not leave us alone until we feel, you know, more stabilized, and it's the best thing ever. Yeah, he's great at grounding. He screams so much.
Mm-hmm. And then Mage has natural disruptive behaviors. She's only a kitten, but she's already starting to learn when we're having existential crises. um, and same with Thick Boy. When we have thoughts of self harm, she likes to meow very loudly, and she screams at us until we hold her, making it so we don't have any hands to self harm with, and only to pet her, which can seem selfish to people who don't understand ESA'S, but it's definitely a disruptive behavior. Um,
When they force you to pet them, that's like the best thing ever. They actually like, yeah, Thick Boy does that thing too where he seeks out your hands with his head and is like, oh, you can't use that hand, you have to pet me, focus on me, and it's the sweetest thing ever.
Yes, and then when we're dissociating, she climbs into our lap or screams very loudly until we put her in our lap. When we're in the bathroom, sometimes we'll pick at our face excessively, and she will climb onto our back and scream until we stop. She gets very concerned when we sit still for too long, like if we're on our phone for more than 15 minutes at a time. She screams at us and demands to be pet, and she's just overall a great example of an ESA, and she's a natural at it. Like, again, she's a kitten. She's only had 2 months to learn our behaviors, and she's already well on the top of the list.
Quality animal. Now we get into the Q&A segment. These are the questions from viewers like you, so thank you. And it starts out with, if a switch happens, how do the cats react to it?
Willow doesn't care. But Mage acts interested. She will kind of like if even if she's in a different room, she'll kind of sense something's going on, and she'll come into the room, poke her head, and try to say hi. We haven't really gotten a bad reaction from her, so that's good. Unlike with the horse who tried to kick Ashley multiple times.
And with Thick Boy, usually when we switch, he kind of just like pays closer attention and like kind of looks and listens, especially if there's a change in voice, because that's the first thing he picks up on.
And then, are there certain altars that the cats will go nowhere near, or ones they won't leave alone? Yes.
Thick Boy loves Nova.
I think, oh god, who was Willow's favorite over here? I think it was Ashley, surprisingly.
I think so.
They match up pretty well. And Mage doesn't have a favorite yet. She's definitely leaning towards like male altars more than the female altars, which is interesting.
And Thick Boy loves persecutor types, but he usually gets pretty comfortable with most people. Oh, he's so good. Yeah, this is how he sits in our lap, and this is just his spot. He's such a good boy. He's such a good boy.
How do they help you with d.i.d. and stuff? As we stated earlier, grounding. They are definitely a grounding thing. Mage likes to sit on our chest and purr, and that's definitely very grounding.
And for us, cats are just kind of a thing that always has comforted us. Like, whenever there was anything bad going on, we always had like a cat in our life, and that was always comforting because cats are just the softest, most wonderful things. And like, we've had cats that have basically adopted us. So for us, like, a lot of our littles are thinking of cats as like something as an attachment and a deep-rooted comfort, so we always like to have at least one.
Mm-hmm.
So having 3 is kind of amazing. I'm just gonna rephrase all of these to all the cats. I know that like they were aimed towards Thick Boy, but now we've got like plenty of cats to answer questions about, so we might as well. Do they ever try to prevent a switch? And is there anything you can preemptively communicate to them? We don't ever try to prevent switches over here.
Yeah, no. If it's like a dissociative switch where we're really spacey and having a hard time switching, cats can almost help the switch, honestly. So really there's no need for preventative, because we don't try to bar altars or make them not front unless it's like littles or something in the workplace.
Yeah.
because we don't really believe in holding alters back or making them not have the front.
The cats do prevent the dissociation, though, and the kind of flashbacky trauma episodes. That's the kind of stuff we'd like to prevent, not the switches. And things we can preemptively communicate to them, like the self-harm intents, cats can really pick up on that. And usually we kind of stick around the cats to be like, hey man, I'm in distress, and then usually they kind of get the picture, and it's really great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then do they get protective over you to other people, as in like protecting you from other people? We haven't had a case where anybody who causes us distress is really over.
Well, I mean, Josh. Yeah, actually, Willow does protect us.
Yeah.
Willow was protecting us from Josh's dog. Yeah, Willow, she was protective of us.
Yeah.
That was like the one thing that Willow did was growl when people were trying to like come into our room. And, you know, like our previous roommate, Josh, and his dog, who we didn't want in the room, Willow would just sit by the door and just growl until the dog would go away.
She once accidentally trapped him in our room. He came to say hi, and she was in the hallway, and she realized he was in the room, sat down at the end of the hallway, and started growling at him when he tried to escape, and he had to sit in the room and look like a dumb dog because he was just trapped between our door and our cat.
And Thick Boy's usually too timid to be much of a protecting type, so usually he just chills out in here if he's not comfortable. But Mage is just comfortable with everybody. She just wants to be around everybody.
For sure.
She's so sweet. When did you get the cats, and are they talkative?
So, Thick Boy...
I was there when he was born. We watched that cat be born. Like a tiny little thing. Oh my god. Our little sister had a friend whose cat came home pregnant and just happened to have some kittens. And we were just like, you know, looking for an animal to raise from a very young age with the intention to be an ESA. And we got really lucky with him because he just turned out to be perfect for one anyway. So we were there when he was born, when he was a little baby. And we adopted him. He's gonna be 4 this June, and yeah, we've had him for most of the time. I mean, Mom had to babysit him for a few months here and there when he was younger, but that was just because of college.
And then Willow and Mage, we got both of them off of Craigslist. Both of them were $30. Mage is part Maine Coon, and Willow is just a trash fire. Mage is very, very talkative, and Willow's very talkative when it comes to food.
And Thick Boy is just... he screams so much.
He likes to chirp at things outside, too. It's really cute.
And if you shine the laser on the ceiling, he'll, like, chatter at it. It's the cutest thing. Funny stories? Mage jumped in the toilet the other day.
I was sitting there looking in the mirror because I was thinking whether or not, well, you know, whoever was out in our system was thinking whether or not we should do makeup. And all we hear is spoosh. And we look over and Mage is in the toilet trying to scramble out of the toilet. So we pick her up, carry her out to the living room, go, somebody needs a bath. Like, the water here is not very clean. Toilets, extra not clean. So, yeah. She's pretty good to bathe, though.
Yeah, she's really well behaved when we give her a bath. She just sits there and is a very good girl. Yeah, Thick Boy cannot be in cat carriers in the car. He will freak out and just scream constantly. So he has to be out loose in the car whenever we're driving him anywhere. But it's not a problem because he's the most well-behaved cat we've ever seen in a car. He will just sit in the driver's lap and just stay there, like just how he was sitting earlier, and just chill out, sometimes going from driver to passenger seat. But he just likes to be in people's laps when we're in the car.
For sure.
Then, do all the cats get along?
When we first got Thick Boy and Willow together, they did not. Willow spent most of her time growling and hissing at Thick Boy, and we only did like 5-hour sessions with them with separation by rooms and like face to face for about 20 minutes at a time. And that went on for about 2 months until they were comfortable with each other. Because Willow does not like other cats, and yeah, it can get crazy sometimes. Thick Boy is tunneling up on our top bunk.
Funny story, Thick Boy likes to dig. He will tunnel into things, especially black blankets. He loves black blankets. Black is his favorite color, all because that's all we wear. But he tunnels. That is literally him on the top bunk right now.
Mhm.
Just digging.
Now Willow and Thick Boy are a bonded pair, we'd say. And then when we first got Mage, we brought her home in our carrier, and none of the cats realized there was anything in the carrier because she's black. She blended in. We have a picture of Willow realizing for the first time that Mage was in the carrier. I believe we put that on a different video, but it'll also go right there. She was so angry. She didn't even have the time to think to hiss. She just sat there and looked really, really mad. So she jumped off the bed and was growling and hissing, and then Thick Boy was growling and hissing, and Mage was standing her ground in her carrier. But as time went on, they kind of learned to get along, and then on the first week, Mage blended in with all her black fabric and kept scaring Willow. She would be laying on the other side of our bed on one of our black shirts, eyes closed, so she was just this black blob. Willow would walk over thinking nothing of it, and then Mage would open her eyes and Willow would get all defensive and start growling and hissing and like jumped backwards, and it was great. So that went on for about 2 weeks. But about the 3-week mark is when everybody started getting along and the hissing stopped, and now they play together. So
they're almost at the point of cleaning each other, and it is the most precious thing. Thick Boy really loves other cats. He used to be like best friends with one of my old roommates, ESA'S, and she was another kitten too. But the funny thing is, when he first saw Lilith, he thought she was Willow. They have very similar markings, except for Willow is just, thick, and Lilith is a thin, long-haired one. We were over at my dad's house still, and he was in the room and saw just her starting to come around the corner, and he jumped over and thought it was Willow, but then froze in his tracks when he realized that's not Willow.
He was so excited to see his best friend, and then it wasn't.
And then him and Shizzle, don't even get me started. She will not even humor him. She will not give him the time of day. Anger rat.
It's true.
And then what breeds are all these cats? Thick Boy, gray short hair.
Yeah, Thick Boy and Willow are both American long hair or short hairs, and Mage is half Maine Coon, half probably American short hair. So she's gonna be bigger than Thick Boy.
She's gonna be like the biggest cat that we own.
She should weigh about 20 pounds by the time she's full grown, and I think Maine Coons grow for about 3 years. So we're in for a good time. It's gonna be awesome. She's already bigger than Willow. She just hasn't widened out. Her shoulders are still super narrow and kitten-like, so she still has a way to go.
This one can only be applied to Thick Boy. How did he act around Stacy trademark? Did he sense she was bad news? I think so. I think she only saw him like once or twice, and each time he was all just like...
Don't
like,
pet me, I'm gonna go hide.
I'm just gonna dodge being petted by you. Just don't. So, yeah, I think so. And if there were no dogs or cats in the world, what would be your ESA?
For us, a horse. Or a ferret. Horse or a ferret.
Nice. I'd pick a snake. Snakes are awesome, and they squeeze you, Like, so if you hold a snake and it starts to like squeeze you, that'd be super grounding. And also, they're adorable little noodle children, and I would like to own one someday anyway.
Also, your littles would vote for a pet tarantula.
Yeah, our littles would want a spider, like a pet tarantula. Our littles are not like regular littles. Is there an altar that normally manages the animal's medical emergencies, vet visits, etc.?
Not alters per se, but we're pretty good with the vet visits. We're good at calming them down when things happen. Thick Boy had another urinary tract scare, and we are like, it's gonna be okay. They're freaking out because it's gonna be $300. And we're like, no, we have antibiotics here. He's gonna be fine. And so we talked him through it, and Thick Boy's totally fine.
Yeah, it used to be Parsifal that would manage all of Thick Boy's stuff, but he kind of really kind of dropped off the face of the earth after summer, and I don't freaking blame him. So it's kind of been up in the air. But yeah, usually it was him. Or I think it was like, persecutor types, because all of us have a big chip on our shoulder against veterinarians, and don't get us started on that. It'll be a whole thing. I'm just gonna leave it.
Are they a trigger for any of your altars? Would some altars be more likely to front when they're around? Well, for Thick Boy, Parsifal is, like, in love with that cat.
Yes. And I don't know, pretty much all of us really like the cats, and they all seem to like us.
There are not really any altars that are specifically triggered unless we're, like, going through a distress phase. Some littles get triggered out when Mage is around, but they haven't really seen that. They've been at work when that happens. But not really.
Yeah, not really.
They're definitely a comfort.
They're kind of just a comfort to whoever is around.
Mm-hmm.
How do the cats act differently around non-persecutors? Altars with more stress and such.
We personally feel like persecutor altars are the most stressed out, other than altars that take, like, anxiety.
And like trauma holders. Trauma holders are pretty stressed out. And hosts are pretty stressed out.
Everyone's pretty stressed out.
Everyone's pretty stressed out all the time. But, yeah, when it comes to, like, really stressed out altars, they're usually pretty empathetic and try to be, like, really gentle and not as wild. That's good.
Yeah, our non-persecutory altars just love on the cats nonstop. They just absolutely love them. Mage is too cute not to pick up, especially when she's sleeping. we disturb her a lot when she's sleeping, but so she cuddles into our chest and falls asleep in our arms, so it's okay.
Then do the cats help certain altars more than others? Yeah, definitely. Some altars, like, don't want to be touched even by an animal, and will, like, stand up or whatever to, like, not be sat upon. But yeah, others are usually more open to cats.
And for us, it's not like cats help one altar more than the other. It's more like whatever altar is in distress that's fronting, they like that is a big comfort. So that definitely helps more than if somebody was not in discomfort. So all right, well, I think that's a wrap for our video. Again, if you would like to go to our meetup, the link is in the description. It's to a Facebook event. Just mark whether you're interested or not, and that way we can know what type of venue we need. We do plan on doing Aetherian classes, and yes, they will be videotaped. I know we got a couple questions asking if they were going to go on the channel, and the answer is yes. So don't freak out if you can't come.
Things will be recorded and posted, and if you can't make it, it'll be here.
For sure. All right, well, thank you all for watching, and thanks for being a goblin. If you're not a goblin, go ahead and press that subscribe button. Also, if you're interested in doing any polls for us on our community tab, turn on your notifications, because those will go into your notifications, then you'll know when we post things on our community tab.
and I really just love doing polls. So the more the merrier. Please vote on our polls. It makes us very happy. Yeah, and feel free to check out all the links down in the description below. We're doing more commissions on Etsy too for knitted goods if you all are interested.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video. That can't go on the video.